All right, calling to order the WTA Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, March 19th, 2026. Vicki, can we start with roll?
Yes, Buchanan.
Here.
Hutton.
Here.
Hawkinson.
Here.
Cortez.
Here.
Whatcom. Here. Lillquist.
Here.
Lund.
Here.
Reinstra. Here. Stewart.
Yep, she's here.
And Darwin.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, full house. Item C, public comment. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes on any topic relevant to WTA. Is there anyone online who would like to unmute and address the board? Please do so now. Seeing none, is there anyone in person who would like to address the board? Right. Item D, you just got here, now it's time for you to leave. No. Executive session. The board will now meet in executive session for an update on litigation as allowed by RCW 42.30.110(1)(I). The board will be in executive session for approximately 5 minutes until 8:06.
The board chair would like to announce an extension to the executive session, and now we will return to open session at approximately 8:09.
Okay, now I call the regular meeting back to order. Welcome back. Item E1, approval of modifications to fair rates and rules policy.
Thank you. So this is basically an administrative item that aligns our rates and rules with the fair vote that happened last December. So you'll see under the bullet point, the main items that have been updated, which is the rates. We've added a ride share, which hasn't been in there before. Youth cards are being discontinued. So youth can still, of course, ride for 18 and under. We're just not requiring them to have cards. Our paratransit pass-on file is going to be replaced with tap per ride, and we've already started putting readers on the paratransit vehicles so that they can fare cap across modes for folks who can ride paratransit and fixed route. Free fare days changing from 10 to 7, and we're going to try some different things to encourage ridership and help during those times. Gold cards, the 75 plus, have been will be discontinued September 1st, and they will automatically change to reduced cards. So there are a lot more categories of people who will get half price fare. About all of those folks now who have gold cards, they'll automatically change over to reduce. They won't have to do any further qualification. And any questions?
Could you just mention all the outreach you're doing?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So we started a couple of months ago and we'll be continuing through the summer, doing lots of visits in places where people who ride transit come together. So senior centers, care facilities, neighborhood associations. We've been to 4 or 5 so far. I'm headed out to Ferndale to another one after this meeting. And we're just answering questions, making sure people have the right information, helping connect people to resources who are having trouble paying for their fare. Like I said, we give away those 50,000 6 red tickets, but there's also about a dozen agencies who do vouchers and longer term passes for folks who have trouble even paying reduced fare. And so we're trying to connect those people to those resources so that they can have a longer term, more stable fare situation. And we'll if you all have any places that aren't on our list of a couple of dozen, please let me know. I'm happy to go and talk to folks. We've had some really, really good visits and community outreach. And my hope is that it will continue to just spread throughout the community with people getting good information and getting good access to the health of it. There's not any other questions. We're looking for a motion.
First of all, I'll move adoption of the fair policy, I guess we call
Rates and rules.
it, rates and rules.
I'll second
And then comment. So this has got a lot of, first of all, there's many parts to the fair schedule. They're all good, they're all important, I love all our children equally. But I think we've kind of like buried the lead on this publicly. What I hear people talking about is doubling of the fare. But I think the lead story should be fare capping. When I look at this, what I see is fare capping as the primary benefit, especially to all the people who are mentioned whenever someone says, oh my God, you've doubled fares. They say, yeah, but there's fare capping for these 10 different categories, including students, seniors, disabled, low income, on and on. And they're fare capped and it's $30 a month. And when I say that, everything changes. So I think we buried the lead on fare capping, and I don't know when that comes out in the story, but my experience has been that completely changes the conversation.
So we actually, we have fare capping right now for people who want to purchase stored value, and we have an extra 20% of people who are purchasing stored value in the last quarter. So people are starting to realize it's there. It went up on our website yesterday. You're going to start to see it on the digital signs, on the bus, rider alerts. You probably won't be able to get away from the fare capping conversation. We have a pretty robust marketing plan that's starting to go out about fare capping, and how you can tap your credit card. I will say one thing, because this is can be a misconception. For people who get reduced fare, that's half off on fixed routes, there is no way for us to attach that to their credit or debit card or mobile wallet. They'll need to have an actual UMO card, and we'll have a large outreach this summer, getting all of our paratransit and reduced folks UMO cards so that they can get fare capping with UMO cards. If you're paying cash, that is the most expensive way to pay. We don't have a way to fare cap cash, and so we're really trying to encourage people to go on and get the card or the app, or if they're only running paratransit, their credit card does fare cap, so that makes it a little bit easier on them. We're working with care facilities so that they have cards, so that once somebody becomes paratransit eligible, they can book a ride and have a card within just a couple of hours. So part of the reason that we're visiting all of these places is to find out what are the scenarios, what are the people's situations that maybe we haven't heard of, or we haven't thought of a procedure or a way to help them. And of course, there's always going to be exceptions, and we're working through those processes, but we want to be sure that we're visiting all these folks so that we're helping everybody, no matter what situation that they're in. But we're going from a $30 fare cap on fixed route to a $60 fare cap, and on paratransit, it's half. So there's some misinformation going out, $30 a month. But if you don't ride a whole lot of times in a month, then you wouldn't pay for it. It's tap per ride. So if you only ride a couple of times a month, you're not going to spend all your money. It'll be sitting there on your card waiting for you for the next time you want to ride.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion, please.
I'm just curious with the elimination of the youth passes, how will like tracking youth ridership work?
Right,
Yeah.
so we have a couple of different ways. One, Western gives us a percentage of their students who are youth. So we kind of have to back into that number with Western. With Whatcom, their cards, they have it set up when that person turns 19, it automatically divides the tab. And so I can see who's a youth and who's not. So we take that number. And then the other way is there's a button on the bus, and you'll see like at Shuxton Middle School, a whole bunch of kids get on the bus, and that driver is pushing youth because those are obviously students. We're finding that there's only about 90 people who are currently using those green cards. And we just really don't need them. People tell when they're a youth or they're a student. And so we're just trying to go with what we intended to do, which was simplify our fare structure and just do it with the cards. It makes it easier for them to ride.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor of approval of modifications to fair reads and rules policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you so much. E2, approval of membership in the 791 Curtis Cooperative. Brenda.
Good morning, board, everyone else. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and we are hoping people purchase discounts are as well. This is permission to enter into an interlocal agreement with 791, which is a Texas public entity that does cooperative purchasing. It would be free for WTA to join. They make their money getting a little bit of a fee from the vendors that do get issued contracts from other agencies. So we are looking for permission to start pursuing this as WTA looks to more creatively compliant and looking for ways to purchase goods at a better cost. So we are looking at a few different cooperatives around the country. We're making sure they're federally compliant, that they meet our own policies for being publicly bid, and just seeing what the cost difference is. So this would give us permission to look into that a little bit more.
I'll move we approve that WTA joined the 791 purchasing cooperative.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Go ahead.
We've got a lot of these agreements. They sound great. What do we think we might get from the 971 co-op? And it seems to be we've now purchased things almost always, it seems like, or through one of these co-ops or government entities. Are we basically buying everything through one of these now? Have we been able to ship that much?
That's a great question. We always look to the state contract.
Right.
All agencies normally do, because we're not going to, if we were to do a public bid, we're not going to get that bulk pricing. We use the state contract a lot. We are known, I can tell you there are about 6 people in this room who dislike me right now for how closely I vet the pricing on these contracts. I mean, raise your hand if you don't like me. Everything. It's administratively easier. It's not always the best pricing. So price is always my biggest goal for in these. We do a lot of we did more using other transit agencies or other local governments piggybacking off of their contracts. It's safest doing it from a DES, like the state, or more of a from a more of a cooperative purchasing standpoint, because they have stricter rules that they follow. So it's easier. But we do make sure that there's a lot that goes into piggybacking and using state contracts, because you have to check the quote. You have to make sure that everything that they're charging you for matches what the state is saying that you should get paid, and verifying all the pricing and the terms. The only thing that scares me about using the 791, and it's not fear, it's just a concern, is it's large. A lot of states use this, and those often come with service areas, making sure that what we want to use is part of that. There's like a Northwest region and a Southeast region, all these different regions, and making sure that what we want to procure is we're looking at, we've dialed it down, because it's always hidden somewhere small who can use that and where they're located. But it's exciting to look into these things, because the pricing is always so much better, unless you're King County or Sound Transit.
That maybe leads into my question. Are there other transit authorities in Washington state that are using 791?
Our neighbors, right, the Skagit is using it, I believe, for their paratransit software, which is something we would love to pursue as well, because it's definitely a high ticket item, and if we can get a better option at a better price. Like us.
We had a buy local policy.
That we do. Again, a lot of people in this room hate me. That guy right there. We look at buy local all the time, and actually DES in the past 3 years, DES, Department of Enterprise Services, has made great leads to get more local vendors on these state contracts who are willing to maybe pay a little bit more if they are satisfying using local vendors. So they're doing a lot more outreach to get the smaller ones, smaller businesses involved in cooperative purchasing. We always look at that. We always look, if something is under our micro threshold, I call it our low hanging fruit, I will see what local vendor is out there, and I will walk them through the process of getting set up to do work with government and get them on our list. And I've annoyed many of our local vendors to get set up.
Do we utilize the MRSC roster, small work, or not small work, but the roster?
We sure do. We use them for both public works, which is our most common, and we use them for consultants. So we use them a lot. Lots of different rules have changed with MRSC in the past 2 years. Now we have to, you used to be able to pick 3 or 4 or 5 vendors from that list and send your quote to. We now send them to everybody. So everyone who is on that list, it's the way that it.
Requirement or?
Yeah, that is a requirement, unless we do our own formal shuffling to make sure that we're giving everyone adequate access to bid. So it's, you know, picking 3 or 5, are you picking the same 3 or 5 every time? Are you giving everybody equal access to that government work? Yes or no? You have to be able to show that everyone is getting equal opportunity. So we just send it to everybody. We've had a lot of really great response. We get a lot of bids when we use MRSC.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's a great program, but yes, you can use it for consultants and for public works. We use it mainly for public works.
Yeah, we use it to great
It's
value
great.
as well, so.
Yeah. Josh Klicka, who runs MRSC, I've annoyed him as well. So
Randy jokes, but you can tell our procurement's in good hands.
yeah, we it is. Whenever I start off using a cooperative I've never used before, I have no problem calling the state auditor and saying, do you have any advice, or how does this look? Making sure everything is clean.
Further discussion? We do have a motion in a second, right? I didn't make that. I was pretty sure. All right, all those in favor of approval of membership in 791 Purchasing Cooperative, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes.
I just have to know what is 791 concept, is that their area code?
That's not, I asked them the same thing, and then it just started off as a spiritual number. I said the converse, I don't need to know it.
Well, we still like. All right, item E3, authorization to donate a previously surplus van to the sheriff's office. So Miranda.
Sure, Kim, do you want to speak on this? Do you want me to?
Or John.
I'll take it, I'm here.
Go.
We have already agreed to surplus this van under an RCW 39.33.010, that was memorized. So we need to, when we donate to another public agency, explain what value WTA is specifically getting. So when we donate to a vehicle to BTC, that's a very clean line, that helps our hiring pool. When we donate a diesel engine to a diesel engine program, the sheriff's office has asked us to, if we have a van we're willing to surplus and donate, we have one that's immediately available. And this is going to their work program, so an alternative jail service, which helps the community in a number of ways and helps WTA, I think, specifically in a number of ways. So we are asking the board to specifically donate for the sheriff's work program.
I would move approval.
Second.
I'd
Right.
like to speak, but
Yep, we have a motion in a second. Go ahead.
thank you for reaching out, working with our sheriff. This is really important. Because we have so many dilemmas around transportation and the criminal justice system. And in the future, we're gonna even have bigger ones. So having a partnership with WTA, I think is super important. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of authorization to donate a previously surplus van to the sheriff's office, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. E4, approval for purchase of 9 standard high floor paratransit minibuses. John.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I'm not as funny as Miranda.
Good start. He did not raise his hand. Don't like
All right, so we wanted to preface this memo just with a little bit of information about why it was added to the agenda at the last minute, and that was primarily with the intent of getting our order placed in advance of the expiration of the DES light and medium duty state contract for the vehicles that we're purchasing. And I did not have the quotes from our vendors finalized in time to have this board memo prepared any sooner than we did, unfortunately. So just FYI for that. We are seeking approval for the purchase order of the 2026 capital budget commitment for 9 standard high floor lift equipped gasoline powered minibuses for a total of 1.65 million, which includes a 5% contingency under Washington State Contract 06719 from Northwest Bus Sales. WTA also requests that an additional allowance be made for make-ready labor, post-production inspections, and Buy America auditing for a total project authorization of 1.8 million. Do you guys want the background? No,
I'll say no.
and
We need them.
what's that?
We need the buses.
Yes, we do need the buses. They, and just a interesting piece of information about it is that these 9 buses will be replacing the last of the existing fleet that was here when I started here, which are the last of our remaining propane buses, which will also allow us to stop renting propane tanks to refuel those vehicles, which will save us some additional costs in the big picture. And Shonda has asked of me to give it over to her for the fiscal impact section.
All right, so I'll make this quick. I wrote this in a hurry and it reads really poorly. So I'm gonna just like really read you this. So thanks, John, for saving some money because we're going to ask the board to authorize a budget amendment that will be coming at a later date for about an additional $250,000. So our current budget was for 8 vehicles at 1.5 million and we need 9 at 1.8. So that's where the 250 is coming from. And we also are going to pay for these vehicles from the fleet reserve fund that we funded in January through the 2026 budget process. And you will see a much larger budget amendment coming later on this year that will include this, but we need your authorization to place that order.
I'll move we purchase the 9 standard high floor air transit buses.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of purchasing 9 standard high floor paratransit minibuses, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
I thought you were funny.
Oh, appreciate that. Go on.
All right, consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. All right, we have a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you very much. Item G, reports to the board, public market property update.
Yes, so we touched a little bit on this last meeting, but wanted to provide a little bit more. Since the last meeting, we've engaged a public or a property management WPCR, Pacific Coast Realty, to help manage that. But wanted to just for as there are multiple audiences listening to this, just a quick reminder of why we're doing this. So our current station is at capacity. We can't grow for the next quarter century or more. We can't add new service to it and so forth. So the current place is at capacity. So in looking at that a couple of years ago, we realized that and said, okay, we need to figure out some way to try to expand. This property came on the market, and it gave us an opportunity to have a larger site to expand the station. In addition, it also solved a construction problem, because if you tried to do anything with our current site, which was problematic anyway because the footprint was too small, but even if you could, you're going to be down for 18 to 24 months for construction. And where would you operate that station? And we're near downtown, so this helps solve that logistical problem, because you could do both on that. As we were looking into this, one of the things that we had some community engagement on was don't let this opportunity go wasted, that you might as well leverage this with other needed things on that end of downtown, and working with the city, trying to coordinate with their efforts on downtown connections and what they're trying to do with downtown, and how can that support that, and how can it support rapid transit. And it really just kind of all tied together. So the opportunity to work with the community to try to help with complex problems like the housing, economic development, transportation in the downtown and so forth, all kind of merged together. So that was the why we did that, just as folks are listening or hearing. So we went into it with a three-phased approach: acquisition, activation, and development. The activation, or the I wish I could say the activation phase was done, but the acquisition phase is done. We acquired the property fourth quarter last year. Activation and development phases are underway. They're being done in parallel. They are sequential. So trying to do both at the same time. On the activation side, now that we have Pacific Coast Realty on board, we can start entertaining potential lease options. We've had a inquiry from that we're actively engaging with to try to figure out that is intriguing. The intent that the board says, we've talked about this over time, is that we want to activate that end of downtown and have it be a piece of property that is actively used, bringing people to that area and so forth to stimulate activity down in that area. So that's underway. Under state law, we had to do a public process in order before we could lease. That has now been done through the Pacific Coast Realty contract, and so now we're into that stage. In parallel with the activation is the development stage, and because this is a multi-use broader project, we've been looking with public-private community, for lack of a better term on that, to act as developer on those things that are outside of our skill sets. So we've been engaged with that community, trying to learn and understand what do they look for, what makes a good project, those kinds of things on that. So been actively engaged with them. There's a entity called AIAI, which is a nonprofit that is specifically formed to help government agencies understand the public-private process, and they provide a lot of really good training on that, and we're putting together some stuff. Maureen is leading the effort with them, and so a lot more to come on that as we're learning that. One of the things that we did learn on that is the better you can have your property laid out from studies standpoint. So things like geotech and the environmental and all those kinds of things, the better off from P3, so that they can pro forma the project and better understand the risks and those kinds of things. And they felt, or at least what we've heard from them so far, is they feel pretty comfortable. Those things are all things they're used to doing. The one thing that they say are risk to those projects from a P3 perspective is community commitment to doing it, because these projects take a while and they can last past personalities. And so part of that, what we're looking at, not looking at, but actively starting, is kind of a two-phased approach. That is a charter group that is made up of city, county, boards, us, and Chamber of Commerce, to come up with, like, what are the goals, like what are the things we really need to see from a community standpoint out of this project. And then we've got a stakeholder group of businesses, neighbors, those kinds of things, to kind of check that kind of charter, if you will, for lack of a better term, to make sure it's hitting that. And then that, as we're building towards going out for a P3, probably beginning of next year or so, which may be a little aggressive, but setting a goal. Then we have that, which helps them understand what they're bidding on and what the partnership that they're getting into on that. In addition to those, working with this AAA group to understand the studies that we need to have. They're looking for continued grant funding to help with those studies. One of the things is we were looking at that we ran into is the definition of transit-oriented development under federal law is that you have to have essentially 50% of your line roadway be dedicated to bus only. That works great in a DC or a Chicago, or that doesn't work very well in Bellingham. So kudos to staff and Marine's leadership. It was okay, that's a barrier. How do we break down that barrier to access the TOD resources? And so there's a pending part of the surface transportation reauthorization that would change that to, for lack of a better term, frequency as opposed to infrastructure. And when the elegance of Marine Solutions, that's the outcome you're trying to drive by having that infrastructure is the outcome. And so, with our rapid transit that we'll be talking about for next month, 10-minute frequency is the outcome that you want out of that. And so that should be the standard, not just whether your streets can support that infrastructure. And that's thanks to Congressman Larson, in particular on the House side, Senator Murray on the and Senator Cantwell on the Senate side. That's in there. Looks like it's got support on that, which would then open up the transit-oriented development funding. Doesn't mean we'll get it, but at least it makes us eligible to fight for it. And I think one of the things I'll say is that there's some interest in this throughout the P3. One of the things that I think we saw was not only is this project interesting to them, the size community, and can they then start seeing, okay, this works, and going to the as we've heard in Peoria, Illinois, because we were talking to one of the representatives from Peoria. They start seeing that in Racine, Wisconsin, and these towns that are a couple 100,000 that have all the benefits from, or could see all the benefits from these kinds of things, but the rules and restrictions have been not there. And so if we can open up that aperture and that pipeline, then the developers are very interested, because that opens up a huge other market for them to go after smaller scale projects than DC or Chicago or Atlanta or something. But it opens up a huge market for them, because at some point those larger markets will get saturated and absorption rates will start shrinking. And so this gives them another market. So I think it's been well received by the groundwork that we need to do. So I'll stop there. That's the update where we're at now, and kind of the strategic framework to approach the project.
Great. All right, other business? Want to talk about this?
So we are trying to make it easier for board members when you come in the building for meetings, so that you won't have to sign in as a visitor, even if the customer service rep is new or a sub and doesn't recognize you. So we have name tags that identify you as a board member, and you can get that from myself or maybe Amber after the meeting. I have them with me today. So as long as you're wearing that, the CSR at the front desk will let you come on up without signing.
I apologize it took us that long to realize that we should be doing this. You're not visitors. And kudos to CSR team and staff, Vicky and Rochelle, for coming up with that.
Two quick items. Yesterday at the Business and Commerce meeting, there was a presentation by the Washington Policy Group by Charles Prestru. I think that would be a good presentation for a board workshop, and that he could adjust it to WTA centric, but there was very interesting data that made WTA look pretty good.
Okay.
I'll be transit.
Yeah. What was his name? I'm sorry. Well, he's on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
So I can find
Yeah,
it.
and the presentation is in the invite.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you should be able to see that. And then I got a voicemail from Papa John Robinson in Ferndale. Did anybody else get that on the board?
3 minutes.
No, he called and
3 minutes.
we're getting a few a day, and I'm calling.
Anyway,
now to them.
I worked with Maureen yesterday. He doesn't have email, so I texted him information on how to get free tickets. And he's not happy, but I think he understands.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I got that during work, and it's like. Any other business? Announcements. We are adjourned. It's a quick one.